What's good? How you doing this evening? Welcome back to the Forever I Love Atlanta Sports Podcast. It's your boy, The Don, right here with my co-host, The King. What's good, man?
What's good, Don? How you doing today, bro?
I'm doing all right, man. It's been a good day, man. Just watching some NFL playoff football, man. We got one more game to watch, and we know what the puzzle is going to be in the NFL divisional round. Uh, But hey, we got some special guests on with us tonight. We got our very own GSHM head writer, Devontae Hughes. What's good, man?
What's up, y'all? Atlanta all day, every day. Just wanted to throw that in there.
As always. All right. And then we here with Eric Robinson, writer for the Falcoholic. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'll admit, while I'm on the show with you guys, man, this Browns and Steelers game kind of got my attention a little bit too, the way it started. So we might be in for a good one tonight with this one.
Hey, I tried to tell everybody that the Browns was going to end up upsetting Pittsburgh. We're going to see if they can hold on, though.
Yeah. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. And then we got Matt Karoly. Let everybody know where they can find your work at, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm a free agent pretty much, but you can find me on Twitter at Matt Karoly, MattKaroly. Happy to be on with you guys. Thanks for the invite. Looking forward to talking some Falcons head coaching and GM candidates here with you.
I appreciate you. And then somebody said Karoly brought me here.
Nice. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Karoly has a following, man. Karoly he got a fan base.
I can tell.
Appreciate it, guys. Appreciate the kind words. Thanks.
All right. So, guys, everybody who's here, if you're new to the channel, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Also, hit that like button. Share this content out with Atlanta Sports Fanatics and hit us up in the comment section. As always, come holler at your hometown sports podcast. All right. Now, let's go ahead and get into the news for the week before we get into the Falcons GM and head coach trackers. So, let's talk about some college basketball because that's pretty much what's going on right now in the state of Georgia. College football, we know that's been done for a good minute. But Georgia Southern, they played a game this Friday against Appalachian State, and they lost that 66-63. Yesterday, they played App State again, and they lost as well 77-71. UGA basketball, they played LSU Wednesday, and they lost that game 94-92. And we played Arkansas yesterday, and we lost that game 99-69. Ugh. So it's been a rough week for both schools. State and Tech did not play any games this week. For the Braves, Azuna has – what'd you say? No. For the Braves, Azuna has not been signed yet, so he's pretty much in limbo between negotiation with the Braves and free agency. So we'll keep an eye on what's going to happen with Azuna. Atlanta United, Stephen Glass has returned to be the Atlanta United 2 Academy manager. And then they also brought Paul Madonna. He returned to the United front office. And we know the Falcons, we finished the season 4-2. So, what happened with the Hawks, King?
All right, let's talk about these Hawks, yo. All right, so we're gonna start off with Bogey. He'll be out for a few weeks. The length of it has not came out yet, but we know it is a few weeks with that knee injury. The Hawks have lost the last 4 straight games, man. They went from 5th in the division to now 11th in the East, man. This is horrible. LaMelo Ball becomes the youngest player to have a triple-double. Great, right against the Hawks, right? And then the record he beat was current of Luka Doncic. So that makes it even worse. Like, how does that make you feel as a Hawks fan? They lost to the Cavs 96-91, a game they shouldn't have lost. The Knicks 113-108, a game they shouldn't have lost. Hornets 102-94, and then they lost again on Saturday 113-105, and that was the game LaMelo Ball had a triple-double. And then
good this year, man. Oof.
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't want to blame this all on coaching because a lot of these shots that they're taking, they're open. They're open shots. They're just not hitting them. So I don't want to. You can say look later on into the season, those shots gonna fall, but I don't even think those shots gonna fall later on in the season. especially when you got people like Cam Reddish, who's leading the box score with 21 points, and he shot 4 from 13 from 3.
Man.
Your point guard, who's supposed to be one of the best shooters in the game, 0 for 5 from 3, people. 0 for 5 from 3. I know if y'all been watching King's Realm, I've been getting on Trae Young, but I'm still going to continue to get on him because this is ridiculous, bro. 0 for 5 from 3?
Yeah.
You probably can count on 2 hands how many threes he has made in the course of this 4-game losing streak. And that's not good when he's supposed to be your best shooter.
Well, to add to that, unfortunately, we all know Atlanta and defense don't go together. So even the Hawks can't play defense.
Exactly.
Man, no team in this doggone state can play some damn defense.
So, John Collins, he had 12 points and 10 boards, but that was pointless effort in my opinion. DeAndre Hunter balled again, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 50% from the field. Hey, this is starting to look like a DeAndre Hunter's team. I'm be honest with you.
Yes.
Trae Young not doing much. Maybe John Collins second, but as we speak, this is starting to look like a DeAndre Hunter Hawks team. And he's the only one that can play defense. Him and Cam Reddish play defense, but Cam Reddish don't give you enough on offense to be on the court at the time.
I've said that Hunter is more of a complete basketball player than Cam Reddish.
Yeah.
But, as always, the Duke fans always want to, come and attack me for no reason. But, hey.
One of those fans. I'm a Duke fan.
I know you're a Duke fan, but I'm not just talking about you. I'm just saying it in general. Like, man, Cam Reddish better than DeAndre Hunter. I'm like,
I'm a Duke fan as well. So to Cam's credit, Cam was in high school, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
DeAndre had 3 years at the UVA system. So
a system that's always developing somewhat good talent.
Professional basketball players, yeah. So he's still growing. He's still growing.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's still developing. I get it. So.
But we just with these Hawks, man, we gotta find more ways to score outside of 3. We need more 2s, man. I know the 2 ball not a sexy look. Everybody want the chicks dig the long ball, right? But long ball not winning games. Like none of these games we're winning. We're losing by a lot of points. Like we lost to the Cavs by 5.
Mm-hmm.
Like okay, the worst loss we got was against the Hornets when we lost 102-94. That was probably the worst one out of all 4 of the last 4 games.
Yeah, man. Wallace, you said that too. Yeah, I said, I think Hunter right now is more of a complete player than Cam. Cam, we don't know yet. We don't know what he can be. So we just gotta, hopefully he can develop. Give him another year because really these guys didn't get a full season last year. So. Wait.
On that note, they only missed 10 games. They're playing the same amount of games this year as they did last year. So they only missed 10 games last year. They ended the season at 72 games. So I can base a lot of stuff off those 10 games. Off those 72 games.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So now we on to the nitty-gritty of the show.
Ain't that the truth?
All right. Okay. Well, I'm still looking at this Browns game, but yeah. So far, the Falcons have interviewed Nathaniel Hackett, which is the Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, the Panthers offensive coordinator, Todd Bowles, the defense coordinator for the Buccaneers, Robert Saleh, the defense coordinator for the 49ers, Arthur Smith, the offense coordinator for the Titans, Eric Bieniemy, the offense coordinator for the Chiefs, Brandon Staley, the defense coordinator for the Rams, and Raheem Morris, somebody that pretended that they was here for a good amount of time that I don't want to mention. So yeah.
Well, I tell you, Don, you don't like that man, Raheem Morris.
I really don't. I don't. I really don't.
All right, boy. I don't even think he got a fair chance, but we're gonna talk about it. But
here's my take. This is my beef. All right. This man knew good and well Dirk Cutter was trash when he came to interim and didn't do nothing at all to remove this man. But at the end of the season, you up here trying to go interview for Jacksonville and you trying to bring Matt McDaniel from San Francisco.
That's exactly it. Like how do you do that? Like how do you vouch? I guess the only thing you could say is like he didn't want to make an in-season move like that, and the only other option is Greg Knapp.
And I would have been fine with Greg Knapp.
No, me too. Like at least try something different, because what you've been trying hadn't been working. But
or he didn't have that much pull as an interim head coach.
I would agree more with that one. I think that special team was just like easy.
So who do you think was tying his hands? Rich McKay or what? Like
Rich McKay has to be Rich McKay.
Rich McKay.
I don't think Arthur Blank cares enough.
Just hearing, because you can hear it in some of his press conferences towards the end of the season, he never really vouched for Cutter. And if he was really on Cutter's side and if Cutter really was his guy, he would kind of spoke up for him. But even, as the losses started to mount a little bit, he never really vouched for him. And to me, I feel like that was the testimony in itself. I think we kind of assumed he was going to have an opportunity to make some moves on the coaching staff, but I don't think he had that much pull.
Yeah, and then not only that, man, you've seen it in the press conferences this year when we had bad games. Raheem Morris, he throw the players under the bus versus you throwing, telling, hey, the coaching, the play calling was trash.
Right.
And not one game we sat here and blamed Dirk Cutter didn't call a good game. Well, but you throwing Matt Ryan under the bus. You throwing Todd Gurley under the bus.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't want Raheem Morris here. And I've told people that he's not getting this job, especially you can't beat your divisional opponents.
That ship has sailed. But, I mean, they did give him, the leeway to fire the special teams coordinator. Or do we think that was just like a PR thing because of how bad that Dallas situation ended?
Yeah.
Yes. I think that was more of a PR thing. Yes.
So, again, it was just like they're okay firing coordinators for PR purposes. Just look at the Sark situation after the 2018 season, because that was basically, I think, a lot of the reason why Dan Quinn probably had to make that move was because
he had to do that because he had to find a scapegoat. You had to find a scapegoat.
Exactly.
Marquand as well. He had, they fired both.
And that was a wrong. I think they should have just kept Sark because you saw Matt Ryan. He matched the same stats that he did in 2016.
Hey, you're talking to two guys that are in charge of the Sarkisian.
Yeah, I mean, we could be here all night talking about why they should have kept Steve Sarkisian.
We both felt as
look at that King Prosper now. In Alabama,
exactly.
You can say they have all the talent in the world, but Falcons had a good chunk of talent on the 2017-2018 roster.
Exactly.
And he got better in that 2018 season. He showed improvement in the red zone.
It just was our defense was trash. That's what it was.
Right. The defense, wouldn't get off the field. Like the biggest thing in 2017 was the defense wouldn't get off the field. So the offense had very few drives to actually do something with. And that's why the points per game weren't to the standard that fans were hoping for in 2017, because they didn't have a lot of drives and they didn't have a lot of time on the field because of the defense. But people saw that the defense was only giving up like 19 points a game or whatever it was. And they're like, oh, that's a top 10 defense. But top 10 defense don't let teams go for 7-minute drives consistently, game in and game out.
And the top 10 defense don't allow a lot of yards on the ground.
The two spots that stood out for that 2017 defense was points per game and turnovers. They were top 10 in both of those categories, but they gave up a chunk of yards.
Yeah.
If you look at their offensive numbers from 2017 to 2018, there was a gradual improvement.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like Matt pointed out, you couldn't really notice it because the defense was giving up 38 points per game, 35 points per game.
Exactly.
And look back at those Saints and Bengals games to start that 2018 season.
The Bengals game, man.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
Like I told people that everybody keep talking about 2000. We had the top 10. No, we did not. DVOA, I go by football outside.
Yeah.
We were 19th that year in defense.
It didn't look like a top 10 because they were still having trouble getting to the quarterback. The only thing with them was they were able to make the stops in the red zone. They were able to
bend but don't break.
Yeah, they were a bend but don't break defense. But everybody felt like I was an elite defense, and it really wasn't.
Exactly. Man, they about to be up 28-0 on the Steelers.
That won't be Ben's fault though. Receiver can't catch.
Hey,
we want to address this question right here.
Yeah, that's why I highlighted it. Okay. So I'm going to ask everybody this question. Good question, David. And then Matt, I'm going to ask you a question next. He said, did Arthur Smith change any of you guys' mind after the day? I'm going to sit up here and say I have been a huge huge supporter of Don Martindale, the defensive coordinator for the Ravens. This man should be interviewed by the Falcons this week. I don't know why we haven't mentioned this man's name at all, but he should be a top 5 candidate to get this job here in Atlanta. Now, Rich McKay, Arthur Blank, I know y'all ain't watching this show, but if somebody can leak this to him and let him know that, hey, y'all need to call this man and bring him in, hey, y'all ain't got to fly this man out. Just give him the link to the Zoom. See what he about.
All right. So my question with you is, when it comes to Martindale, not trying to knock him as a coach or anything, but don't you feel that because of the amount of success that the Ravens have as a defense year after year after year, that it's almost as if you can just put a competent defensive coordinator in and they will have a top 10 defense every year? Not saying Martindale is not ready to be a head coach, but just looking at it and saying like, man, you know what? Is this really a result of Martindale? Because
it is a result of Martindale because they had Dean Pease there before Martindale. They was a good defense, but Martindale took it to another level. Like they've been top 5 defense in 2018, top 5 the last year, and right now I think they are top 10 defense. They took a little step back this year, but I feel like I get what you're saying because Ravens' identity has always been defense. I get it.
I'd kind of liken it to Brandon Staley, honestly, in LA. Like they had Wade Phillips last year, and they were a pretty solid defense. Like DVOA had them, I think, maybe top 10. Some other metrics they weren't as good, and then Brandon Staley comes in there and kind of takes them to another level. And I think that's what Martindale has done in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And some of his blitz schemes, I think that's probably his calling card. He's got very creative designs with those. And then certainly allows his guys on the back end to do their thing and kind of shut down their side of the field. I mean, it does help to have Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey, but again, he's done some good things down up pressure with, not really until they got Yannick, they didn't really have a premier pass rusher per se.
Yeah, the one thing I like about Brandon Staley, and I've been high on Brandon Staley for a minute. If y'all, I have a scouting report on Brandon Staley. I did that back in like September, October, a few months ago. Go check that out. But he's an outside linebackers coach by trade, so the man knows pass rush, and this is why you see a team like the Rams stay getting at the quarterback. He understands that to a T. All right. I like I said, he's a young defensive minded guru prodigy. I wouldn't mind us bringing him in. Like I said, a lot of people don't know who he is. Everybody's saying, well, he just got there in Los Angeles. I'm like, yeah, but people forget that Wade Phillips was a DC and that unit was good. But like we said, with same thing with Martindale, Staley, he took that to a whole nother level. So
And some of the stuff he's doing, I mean, the reason I'm planting my flag on Brandon Staley now as my number one candidate, he's really ahead of the curve on some of the stuff he's doing. Football is a numbers game. We've all heard that said. It's a matchup game as far as getting the one-on-ones. And the things that Staley's doing as far as in the trenches getting the one-on-one matchups, he's incorporating 1.5 gap scheme principles, which is something I've never really heard of until he's done as far as, he's still being aggressive with the guys shooting the gaps one-on-one, but they're also responsible for another half gap in the run game, which then allows his defense to utilize lighter boxes, which again, lighter boxes is kind of this new age thing where, if you look back at the Pete Carroll defenses and the cover 3, which, Dan Quinn then brought to Atlanta, it was all about loading the box up with 8 guys, stop the run first. And then, you force teams into a pass situation where then, you play coverage, where Brandon Staley's doing the exact opposite. He's lightening the box so that he has more guys on the back end to get a 2-on-1 matchup.
But what he does is he has guys there who can stop the run in the box.
Well,
and then on top of that, the reason why he's doing that is because the league has evolved to passing. So his main thing is to get after the quarterback. Get out to the quarterback first. We do that. Then we have guys who specializes in stopping the run. So we're gonna stop you. You're gonna stop you anyway.
But outside of Aaron Donald, prior to this season, could you name anyone on LA's defensive line? I mean, Michael Brockers came back late in the process, but who's Mark Fox? Who's Sebastian Joseph Day?
Exactly.
He's turned those guys into names that, the broadcast was picking up on yesterday. So again, people love, in my mentions, people love talking about Aaron Donald. And sure, Aaron Donald's the best defensive player in football, and Jalen Ramsey's playing like the best cornerback in football. But there's 9 other guys on that field, and what Brandon Staley's doing to getting them all in sync and getting them playing their best football. All those guys are pretty much playing their best football of their career under him, and I don't think that's a coincidence.
Exactly, it's coaching. It's coaching.
The last point I want to say before we kind of maybe take the conversation elsewhere about him is just that the whole goal of this process for the Falcons is to find the best football coach, best football mind, kind of be on the search for who's that next Sean McVay. That's the popular thing to do. Who's that next bright young coach? And I don't think there's a candidate that meets that description better than Brandon Staley. And if you read some of the articles that have been written now about Staley, Sean McVay noticed it. He noticed it right away. He basically said in one of the articles that, like, this guy's kind of sicker than me as far as his obsession with football and researching the game and trying to be that next great coach. And again, I don't know if he's going to get the job. Hopefully, Falcons did have some interest in him. Hopefully they bring him in for an interview this week or next week. But whoever gets him, I think, is getting a stud of a head coach. And, I think the next Sean McVay.
And he knows offense too. He does a lot of time with McVay understanding what the offense does.
He was a quarterback in his playing career.
Yeah.
People don't know that either. He grew up as a quarterback, was on the offensive side of the ball, and it wasn't until he went to that D3 college that he's from. I think it was John Carroll.
John Carroll.
His head coach there basically said, "Hey, you should try the defensive side of the ball," and then the rest has been history. So the guy knows the offensive side, and I think that's what makes him such a great defensive coordinator. Is he's got that quarterback mind that he knows how to rattle quarterbacks, and just you don't have to look any further than that matchup against Brady and the Patriots, or Brady and the Bucs. Excuse me. What he did to Brady in that game, confusing him, that late game interception. I mean, he took on that challenge. He said he dreamed of that moment to scheme up a game against Brady, and man, he backed up that talk.
Exactly.
So, I hope the Falcons give him a shot. But whoever hires him, like I said, they're gonna get a great head coach.
All right, back to the question on and we're gonna get to y'all comments in a minute, you guys. Devontae, what's your thoughts on Arthur Smith and the performance today that the Titans put on? Do you think his stock has kind of dropped a little bit?
I don't think it should drop. I know, basically, man. I mean, they shouldn't look at this game and say, "Oh, well, Derrick Henry didn't perform well. Let's just drop him," because we've seen the type of turnaround he did with Ryan Tannehill. Because everybody after Ryan Tannehill left from the Dolphins didn't think nothing much of him going there. So I think him being able to transform that offense, turning A.J. Brown into a monster. He even got Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith, all those guys performing at a high level. I do think he, if chosen by the Falcons, can come in and play with Matt. I need to say with Matt because I know a lot of Falcons fans are trying to get the next QBs of the world. But I think maximizing talent for 2021 and beyond comes with Matt, and that comes with the coaches that they bring in.
Okay. All right. What about you, King?
You know me. I'm never a proponent of one game. So I think when you look at, like we was talking, that Ravens defense is good. So when you play in a top-notch defense in the playoffs, you shouldn't base anything off one game. And then when you look at, like Devontae said, this team of the Titans and with their quarterback have changed a lot of things. You didn't think Ryan Tannehill was going to be 2 consecutive playoff caliber quarterback once he left Miami. So not too much smoke.
All right.
I mean, you can go back to the first meeting between these two teams, and the Titans had their way with that same Ravens defense. I think this was just an example of you getting a second shot at the team.
Really, there's a third shot because they played them in the season this year too.
Yeah, so, I mean, but you know how the saying goes. It's hard to beat a team twice in the same season. I think today was just an opportunity for Martindale and the Ravens to get a second look at film, and they adjusted and they beat them. That's all.
Yeah, that's just that simple. Yeah.
And a lot of that was they was trying to get the Titans to throw the ball. They was loading the box all game.
Right.
Yeah.
All game. Like either you gonna throw the ball or you not running. And they wasn't able to run, and they didn't. I don't feel like they gave Ryan Tannehill enough chances in this game, to be honest.
And shouts out to people who pretty much saying that Lamar Jackson put this game on his back. The dude, no, he did not have. He played okay. He did enough to win the game for his team. But the credit goes to the Ravens defense. You held Tennessee to 13 points. You held their best player under 50 points.
After giving up a 10-0 lead.
Thank you.
After giving up a 10-0 lead. So, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, y'all can chill out with the Lamar Jackson because y'all was real quiet last night when we were talking about doggone Russell Wilson. But, oh, well.
Yeah, I like to make the comparison with Smith to Stefanski from last year. I think they had similar coaching trajectories. They kind of were with one franchise. You know, Stefanski was with Minnesota his entire career, kind of held various different roles. Smith has had the same type of career in Tennessee for the last 10 years, serving various different roles. And if you look back at the playoffs from last year, Stefanski against a very good San Francisco 49ers defense in round 2, they only put up 10 poinst and got bumped. Right. So, and now we're seeing what Stefanski has done as a head coach in Cleveland. You know, they're up 21-0 in their first playoff game in Pittsburgh. Right. So
you can even go as far as the personalities between those two, between Stefanski and, I mean, both guys are
right.
The quiet, you know, they're not really the loud, rambunctious coach, but they're so smart when it comes.
And they actually,
Smith is he's a logistics type of coach,
Absolutely.
Which is very good.
Yeah.
You know, he don't just, he's more than an essence and those type of coach. He's very analytical.
Right. So, yeah, recency bias always rears its ugly head these times of the year in the playoffs. So for me, you know, one performance against a very quality defense, one of the best defenses in the Ravens, that's not going to change my outlook. You know, I said Staley's number 1. For me, Arthur Smith's 2, then Bieniemy's 3. I think Arthur Smith, you know what you're working with him in his offense. I think, you know, with Matt going to be there at least in 2021, I think there's no better fit from an offensive point of view than Arthur Smith. I mean, what he's done with Tannehill, you know, getting him out of the pocket on boots and play action, and, you know, establishing a run game, which, you know, I think the biggest comment that I took away from Rich McKay and Arthur Blank's press conference was when Rich McKay said, the reason the Falcons are in where they're in is because they haven't had a defense and they haven't had a run game.
Exactly. That's two things.
Arthur Smith, I think, would bring that run game. Now, we don't have a Derrick Henry yet, but that's why I've kind of been pounding the table for Najee Harris, who I think is probably as close to what you can find from a Derrick Henry. He's kind of a mix of a Derrick Henry, Todd Gurley.
Now, your Derrick Henry's at North Carolina. That guy, that player for the Tar Heels, that's your Derrick Henry right there.
You talking about Javonte?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough. I think Najee Harris, we're going to be talking in 3 years, is Najee Harris is one of the best running backs in football. So that's why I'm pretty high on him. And I think there's a very good chance you're getting him at the top of the round 2 pick. You know, maybe there's some roadblocks in the way at the end of round 1. But if he's there in round 2 and Arthur Smith's your head coach, I think they're going to sprint to the podium on that one. So
he could draft him, or he could go to his alma, because people forget he went to North Carolina.
That's a great point. I mean, Arthur Smith is a North Carolina alum, so that very well could be. So people should write that down as well. If not Najee Harris, look for the North Carolina back.
Do y'all think they can go in-house?
What'd you say?
I said, do y'all think they can go in-house for running back too?
You talking about like
Quadri or Quadri? I mean, they're going to have roles, I think. Quadri's probably always going to be maybe just a goal line spell back or, you know, spells the bell cow, whoever it is, whether it's Najee Harris, whether it's the North Carolina back or another draft pick, or the name I've been floating around too on the free agency wire. And again, I don't know if he's going to make it there because he is a restricted free agent, but it's Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards is a very efficient running back for Baltimore. They're probably going to hang on to him one more year, but if he does somehow not get tagged, that's another name I've been saying. Don't be shocked if Arthur Smith, you know, pairs himself with Gus Edwards, because I think Gus Edwards can be a lead back and can be a similar type of player that Derrick Henry is. They're both like 6'1", 240 pounds, freight trains running downhill. So Gus Edwards is another name to watch if he does make it to free agency. But I don't know. Ito Smith's always going to be the change of pace, and I think Quadri Allison's always just going to be a reserve as a 5th round pick, honestly.
Man, we just ain't getting him in a chance. That's the thing, man.
I think at the very least, if Arthur Smith were to come in, he can see that, with a guy like Brian Hill, with a guy like Quadri Allison, he has nice depth there if he wants to install a power ranking, if he wants to have a deep running backs. But I think right now, I think it's probably logical for them to go and get their lead back. Their lead back is definitely not on this roster right now. The free agency, there are a couple names out there in free agency. I thought a guy like Marlon Mack from Indy, he's coming off an Achilles injury from last year, but he's an unrestricted free agent, which means his price tag is going to be down a little bit. I thought, possibly someone that they may kick the tire on a little bit just to see if they're not able to get their guy in the draft. But they definitely need that bell cow.
We need to just draft fresh legs, man, out of college. That's my thing. Draft some fresh legs. All right, Matt. You said I know Fortno is one of the GM finalists. Who do you think? The other two, Rick Smith is I feel like he is the favorite right now to become the next GM. The third person, I'm thinking it's a tie between Anthony Robinson or Brad Holmes, the college scouter, the director of college scouting for the Rams. My thing on Fortno, if you bring him in, and I'm just looking at that because they said that they want the GM and the head coach to be in sync with each other. All right. So you bring in a guy like Fortno, we know that he's been there for 16 years. So pretty much we know how the Saints has been ever since 2006. All right. That was 14 years ago. And you can't go wrong with a guy like Fortno. Now, the question is, who are we going to bring in as a head coach? Joe Brady is a person who interviewed with the Falcons this past week. He's a young, up-and-coming offensive guru. I wouldn't mind him. He's not one of my top 10, but I wouldn't mind if he can build a coaching staff. This is the thing that, and this picture's been floating around, and I've said this before. This picture has been floating around. Arthur Blank and Rich McKay, they're asking these candidates, what is your plan? What is your plan to come here to help us win? We are winning now. Look, they don't want to hear who you drafted. All right. It ain't just about the draft. He want to know who you bringing in as an OC, who you bringing in as a quarterbacks coach, wide receivers coach, who you bringing in as a defensive coordinator, linebackers coach, D-line coach, special teams, strength and conditioning, because we know we've been injured riddled for a good number of seasons. So they are asking these guys these questions. What is your plan? So hopefully Joe Brady, we know he's young and he don't have the connections like a lot of these other coaches have, like Arthur Smith and Brian Dabble and Robert Saleh, that's been in the league for a good little minute. But he has to have a plan. Everybody must have a plan if they want this job. So I can see a guy like Joe Brady tagging along with Fortno here to Atlanta if we decide to hire Fortno, because the GM's going to get hired first. And if not him, I don't understand why no one has asked about interviewing Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen has done a great job since he's been there in New Orleans. That defensive unit has been top 10 ever since he got there.
I would agree with you there. I would agree with Dennis Allen. I like Dennis Allen. For everybody that's gonna be like, oh, don't be a Saints lover. Hey, a good team is a good team. Can't be a good team.
Yeah, I do think Fontenot, Rick Smith, and then I'd probably say Brad Holmes is the other one in that top three. And that's kind of, again, I'm planting my flag on the Brandon Staley hill. I think pairing Brad Holmes, the Rams college scouting director, with him makes sense. And you got to think with the Rams, they haven't had a first round pick in ages, and they've been able to draft well in the late rounds. So that's the type of thing that the Falcons need right now, is to fill out that roster, and they need a home run draft here to kind of build this thing back up. So for me, That's what I'm hoping for. But in the end, I probably think Rick Smith is going to get it. I do agree as well. I think he's the favorite with that Rich McKay connection, and I'm all right with it. I mean, again, I think, and people have thrown this out, and I don't disagree, but I also don't think it's a bad thing. I think he does have a Thomas Dimitrov type resume.
I disagree with you on that. Because let me tell you something.
They both have drafted well. The reason Thomas Dimitrov, fell on the sword again, it was time to move on. But Thomas Dimitrov didn't hit the trenches. That was the big.
That's the thing. But here's Rick Smith though.
Rick Smith hit the trenches.
That's what
Rick Smith hit the trenches, but he didn't hit some of the other things that Thomas Dimitrov hit on, as far as DBs, skill players. He hit on a couple of those.
While he didn't, I think, to his credit, I think we all know why the Houston Texans were really underwhelming over the past few years.
Well, yeah, it's
because of Bill O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien, because of Gary Kubiak. I don't think it really.
And again, Rick Smith never got fired either. Rick Smith, his wife was battling an illness and passed away, and he needed to take time off.
Right.
And then the McNairs, and again, it's no surprise after what we see now is they just said, Rick, your wife just died, but we're not going to welcome you back anymore. I'm sorry, bud, you're out of a job.
And that's stupid. And that's dumb. And like Rick Smith, here's my thing with Rick Smith. And
the Dimitrov comparison, let's get this straight. It's a compliment. For me, it's a compliment because I think Thomas Dimitrov was a good general manager. I just think it was time. He made some mistakes, just like all GMs do. No GMs are perfect, and that's what people need to keep in mind. There's going to be misses in free agency, in the draft. You just try to limit them as much as you can. So again, if Rick Smith comes here, for me, that I'm cool with that.
Here's my thing. Here's my thing with Dimitrov. Dimitrov just should have been gone after Mike Smith if we keep it in 100. Now, yes, we drafted guys like Debo. We drafted guys like Grady Jarrett, Calvin Ridley. Yes, they have been good. But with the contracts he gave to doggone Jaylen Brown and
again, we don't have
Carpenter and those guys like that. That stuff right there, man.
All that was though too. So like, it's tough to just place all these things.
But at the end of the day, if you the GM, you signed the contract, man. That's on you.
Dan Quinn got final say on the 53-man roster. So how do we not know
that right there? That was that report right there. I know what you're talking about. That happened in 2015. But if we keep it in 100, I'm just being real with you. I don't think Dan Quinn had any say so. He had some, but he didn't have 50-50 like everybody thought towards the end of his tenure here. Because he drafted, like, let's be real. The Calvin Ridley draft.
You don't think Dan Quinn, Seattle guy, you don't think he has his fingerprints on that?
I don't think, not with the draft. That's just my opinion.
Well, I'm talking about, because you're talking about the free agency misses now. Jamon Brown and James Carpenter. I mean, he had his fingerprint on those.
Getting a guy like AJ Terrell is Seattle fingerprints all over.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I agree with that. But like the Calvin Ridley pick, come on now.
But that to me, that I don't think you can really no one can really take credit on that one. I think that was just like, oh my God, Calvin Ridley fell to us. We got it. Let's just get him.
Yeah.
I think that was more of that right there was more of a Thomas Dimitrov pick right there. That I'm telling you. That was a Thomas Dimitrov pick.
I agree with that just because again his forte was hitting on the skilled players. But as Eric said, I mean, you don't bypass, like, the free fall was too far for Calvin Ridley. 26, you take him there like that. He should have been taken in the teens.
My thing with Dimitrov,
I would have traded it out, man, and got some more picks.
I think the biggest issue with Dimitrov, and it kind of sort of happened with Dan Quinn as well. They fell victim to complacency. Their thing was they drafted their guys. They want their guys to succeed, and they always had a plan A. But what's plan B? If Vic Beasley doesn't work out, if Takk McKinley doesn't work out, what's plan B? What's plan C? They never had that.
They never had that, and this is the problem. You had a guy like
that in game, like
you had a guy, but there's the thing, But Thomas Dimitrov, he came out after he got fired. He went on CBS Sports show, and he said that his philosophy was to build an offensive juggernaut here in Atlanta. That's his philosophy. I'm telling you, this is what the Falcons wanted to do. This is what Thomas Dimitroff wanted to do. His idea was offensive skills. But the thing is, he thought that just hiring the team hiring a defensive-minded coach was just going, okay, well, we'll hire this defensive-minded coach. Defense will be all right. I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to draft players because, you know, I can do that.
I mean, he did express remorse, though, on the Peter King podcast, I think it was. He said his biggest regret was not building a defense.
I can't say he just sat back and just wanted to focus on offense. Because you gotta keep in mind who his first round picks was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most of those first round picks on defense, did they really work out?
He missed, but he at least swung the bat.
He put in a lot of resources on that defense. Vic Beasley, Tack, AJ Terrell, and Keanu Neal.
Jalen Collins in round 2, that turned out to be a miss because of the off-field stuff.
Deion Jones in round 2. He put in a lot of resources.
He invested. You can't.
He did. But the thing is, though, did most of those picks work out?
No, they
didn't. That
didn't.
goes back to evaluate. Did he evaluate the talent the right way?
Wait. Let's talk about Vic Beasley for a moment. Vic Beasley just didn't want to change. He didn't want to adapt. If Vic Beasley would have had the heart that we thought he had, Vic Beasley could have been a beast.
You're right about that. But
yeah, he could have.
My thing is, if Dimitroff and Quinn would have just put a contingency plan in place, not literally approach every season like, man, this is the year they're going to turn it on. This is the year they're going to turn it on. Because let's keep in mind, there was times in free agency where they had a little bit of cash and they had an opportunity to go out and get guys that can help them, but they didn't because they sat here year after year after year. Man, this is the year Vic is going to turn it on. This is the year Tack is going to turn it on. They got complacent when it came to certain things. I think that was their problem. They did too much of let's run it back. They did way too much of that, in my opinion.
And again, we don't know. We don't know. Was that Dan Quinn's pride in those players thinking he could make it work as a D-line guy? Like,
but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. They both was a package deal, and this is why they're not here anymore.
Well, no, I get that.
And here's the thing. Hold on. And here's another thing too. This is why we mentioned earlier that we want Blank and McKay want the GM and the head coach to be synced with each other. I don't think Dimitroff and Quinn was not on the same page. They were not. I don't think they were on the same page.
I think they were.
I don't think they was, man.
That wouldn't explain picks like Deidre Sanat, and this man doesn't even fit nothing to spark nothing that Dan Quinn preaches about fast and physical and nothing like that.
Yeah, I mean, the Deidre Sanat is just – that'll never make sense to me. I don't know why. He must have done something behind closed doors or whatever. But
he done slept with somebody's wife at home. I don't know.
Even, wow. GMs and head coaches aren't always going to be on the same page because even during the Dimitroff and Smith years, when they invested in Tyson Jackson and Paul Soliai, those two were not on the same page there. One wanted the interior guys. The other guys wanted to invest in the edge rushers, and the other guy won out. Soliai and Tyson Jackson. So, it happens, and sometimes it leads to the end of a run, and that's kind of what happened here as far as, them, I don't think, being on the same page at times. But I think for the most part, they were.
I think they were. Yeah.
I mean, again, you look at their drafting and the athletic profiles that they were hitting on their picks. They were definitely on the same page more times than not. But, it happens. I mean, again, I just think it was time and you saw the writing on the wall at the end of 2019. And unfortunately, Arthur Blank kind of was a little bit delusional in that late season run and costed us another season.
Wasted another season away.
I think a lot of TD's picks on the defensive side for some reason came in like the later rounds. And I do think that does attest to the lack of development this team has had because it's a lot of players that has come and gone. And you look at their NFL.com or scouting reports, and they look like the exact same player, and it's been 5 years. And I think that's a big problem with this team.
Exactly.
Yeah, the complacency comes into play in that situation. Again, I think both were on the same page for a good, extensive amount of time, and it's kind of hard to look at. It's kind of hard to look at, especially this defense. It's kind of hard to look at this defense and say that Dan Quinn did not have a considerable amount of influence on that defense because a lot of those guys, like Keanu Neal was not considered a first-round pick coming into the draft that year.
Right.
They went after him because he fit that Cam Chancellor mold. AJ Terrell, to be quite honest with you, was not largely considered a first-round pick, but they got their guy because they felt that confident in that guy, and he had the length and the measurements to fit what they were doing with this cover 3 scheme. So I think those two guys were on the same page. I just felt like they fell victim to not having, they wanted their guys to succeed so much. You give Vic Beasley a 5th-year option for what? He didn't earn it, but you wanted him to succeed so much that you went out of your way to give him $12 million in the year that he,
that 2016 season was probably the worst thing that could have happened to him.
It was.
Let's be real. The 2016 season is the worst thing that happened to the Falcons. I'll take that back.
Wow.
The second worst thing to the Falcons. To this fan base. And now just going back to Rick Smith, we hired him. You can easily see a guy like Robert Saleh getting hired to be the head coach. He has ties with Rick Smith from Houston. We can very well see Saleh bring in Mike McDaniel.
Talk about Saleh for a sec because I've been making a running joke about it, but I think there's some substance behind it too. How do you go from Dan Quinn to Robert Saleh and think you're getting a change? You're basically the same. They're the same how they look, but they're basically the same energetic. They preach the same stuff as far as fast and physical, arriving violently. They both run the stadium stairs in pregame warmups. They came from the Pete Carroll coaching tree, the cover 3 scheme. I mean,
I want you to look at the tape of how the 49ers, and I want you to look at the front 7. Look at their front 7 of how they play, and you look at the front 7 of how we play. And it's a totally difference. It's a total difference.
It's almost the same thing as looking at the defense of Seattle when Dan Quinn came over.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. The one thing I was going to say, you give credit to Saleh because they were ravaged by injuries this year, and he did make some adjustments.
And they were still the top 10 unit.
Right. But, I mean, again, you go back to what they were in the Super Bowl. I mean, the wealth of talent that they had on that D-line, it was like to Eric's point. I mean, that's what Dan Quinn had in Seattle and why that was, historically great unit because they had a historically great individual talent. And Atlanta doesn't quite have that. So I think they need a guy who's more of, an X's and O's schemer, a great football mind. So that's why I'm trending towards the Brandon Staleys or the Wink Martindales or even Matt Eberflus. I
was just going to bring him, man. You stealing my script, man. I was going to bring him up. Matt Eberflus, it should be another person that should be interviewed. I love what he did yesterday.
Buffalo was great. So what he's done all season has been great. So that's why for me, Saleh, yes, I think for the right fit, like I think in Detroit's perfect for him. But for Atlanta, we need a change. We need a different vibe, a different voice. And I think Robert Saleh has a similar voice, a similar message to what Dan Quinn had.
But also, you got to think about this too. Like San Francisco, they DBs, they have zone DBs. Here in Atlanta, we drafting doggone like covered like man DBs to play in the zone. That makes absolutely no sense. And Dan Quinn wanted to convert these guys over.
I don't think Isaiah Oliver is a man. I mean,
Oliver is a man. He is a man DB. He played man in Colorado.
I mean, he might have played at Colorado, but he got toasted when he was in man. He's better in the zones. He's better not having those outside responsibilities. That's why when we saw him get shifted inside, less responsibility, less coverage responsibility.
Yeah, they also talking about moving him to safety, so they may be
I mean, it may be on the table depending on who the defensive coordinator comes. They certainly salvaged him. I mean, he's only got one more year left on his deal, but he's certainly become a more competent player inside in the slot. But yeah, for me, I mean, I'm out on Saleh because I just think he's too similar to Dan Quinn. And I think, if it's Rick Smith, I'm hoping Arthur Smith is one of his pairing choices as well.
You got to think about the connection though with these GMs, man.
Well, the one thing I would say connecting wise is the AFC South. I mean, he, being in Houston and Arthur Smith being in Tennessee for as long as he's been, you'd think he knows a little bit about him to the point where that could make sense. But again, I mean, you're right. You have to look at the connections. He doesn't have a actual team connection like, Fontenot has with Brady or Holmes has with Staley. But I would say if there's one corollary to draw, it's the fact that the AFC South, they've pretty much been in there the entire careers.
So if we keep it to guys that have specifically been mentioned with the Falcons, such as like Todd Bowles getting an interview next week, what do y'all think about Todd Bowles becoming the next head coach?
I like Todd Bowles. I wanted him over Quinn and after that 2014 season.
Well, that's what's interesting about him is the fact that he's now getting a second crack at this.
Which he deserves because the Jets organization failed this man.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's a real wild card just because, again, he was a finalist in 2015, and now he's getting a second crack at this. So, I don't know how I feel. I'd kind of be lukewarm, but I'd give it a shot, be open-minded to it. I'm wondering who his staff would be. I haven't really looked into him too much as far as potential staff members, but certainly a great defensive coordinator. And then, as Don mentioned, I mean, the Jets organization is very dysfunctional, so it was hard to have success there. And, he never had a quarterback really in New York. So that also made things difficult on him. So if he was in Atlanta, again, isn't in my top 5 of higher choices, but I'd be open-minded and give it a shot, see what happens.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll be happy on either Sally and Bulls. I feel like Bulls should get another chance. Another guy we haven't talked about yet is Nathaniel Hackett. I'm not high on him because I've seen the offenses he put up, but then again he was under what's the guy name?
Doug Marrone.
Marrone, yeah, he was under Marrone for a while, so and he's always been under offensive minded coaches for most of his career. So that's another thing. So like I said, everybody speak high on Hackett. His dad was a coach as well.
I don't.
Well, that's the connection there. McKay and Hackett, his dad, they knew each other from Tampa.
Yeah.
I don't get the hype. I don't understand.
I don't get it either. Like
I'm very lukewarm on that one too. I mean,
I'm not even warm. I'm cold on that. Like I'm ice cold. 103 stats cold. Like
y'all using the word hype. We're gonna have to go into Shaquille O'Neal.
That's nothing. I'm not how I'm. Look, I've been a person that's I don't like the enemy.
Why?
He's not calling the plays out there in Kansas City.
Oh boy.
But I
look, man, I'm telling you.
That's
he's not calling the plays.
Andy Reid didn't call the plays in Green Bay before he became a head coach in Philly.
Who?
Andy Reid didn't call the plays in Green Bay before he became a head coach in Philly.
He wasn't, but he was a quarterback. He was a quarterback's coach. He's the one that.
The enemy's with
Mike Mularkey. Listen, Mike Mularkey, not Mike Mularkey, but Mike Holmgren, who was the head coach at Green Bay at that time. He praised Andy Reid for what he did to Brett Favre. That's what got him that job in Philadelphia.
Mahomes has done the same thing.
Just like what Andy Reid is doing for Bieniemy.
Mahomes has said similar things about Bieniemy's influence on him since he's taken a larger role in that room.
He is calling plays.
Again, that's a concern of mine. It's why it's dropped a little bit because I don't know exactly what a Bieniemy-owned offense looks like. But what I will say very highly of Bieniemy is how he commands a room, how he's not afraid to speak his mind, and he's not afraid to light into those Kansas City Chiefs players that are supposed to have a ring. But
you
he's
said
still
something.
not satisfied.
You said something about what the plays look like. You remember that trickery play that they did in the Super Bowl, and then they also did it against us.
You think that's all Bieniemy?
That's a big. I'm telling you, he draws up plays like that. He draws on some plays, but that's a play that he like I said. I'm just not high on the man.
So wait, hold on. So we can't give him credit for. So I mean, wouldn't that be fair credit to say, okay, he may not call plays, but at least he's drawing up a good portion.
He's drawing up some plays, yeah. But like that's not enough, man. That's just my opinion.
But the thing is, he is calling plays. He's not calling majority.
And again, for me, it's not so much always about calling plays. You do need to be a CEO as a head coach, but also just the fact that he's been with Andy Reid for as long as he has. You don't think he's picking up any of that knowledge along the way?
And look at the guys like Doug Peterson and Matt Nagy. All right, they was under. Yes, we know Peterson won the Super Bowl. All right, But look at Peterson now. He's in jeopardy for losing his job right now in Philadelphia. Hold on. And let me give you another question too. I'm gonna give y'all a question. All right, so let's talk about who. Raise your hand. Who like potato salad? I'm not going off script. Eric Robinson, you don't like potato salad?
Everybody likes potato salad.
I don't. So I don't like mayonnaise. But all right, let me ask you this question.
Mustard.
Hold on.
Yeah, there could be a mustard-based one. You don't.
Yeah, I haven't tried that though. But listen, let me hold on. Who potato salad you gonna eat? You gonna eat somebody who been making it for 30 years, or you gonna eat somebody potato salad who just started making it a couple of years ago?
I'm mad Joe's sandwiches be so dry.
How do you mess up potato salad?
Hold on. Are you gonna eat somebody's stuff that's are you gonna eat Big Mama potato salad who got the flabby arms? Or you gonna eat somebody potato salad? Are you gonna eat cousin?
I don't know if the potato salad tastes bad. You can at least try it. You can at least
no, man. Come on, Eric. Come on, man.
Look, man, beggars can't be choosers right now. And right now, the Falcons are beggars.
I didn't say
no, we can't be begging, man. That's what begging can get you in trouble a lot, man.
At least get someone to fuck you like, oh, okay, all right. Ain't that
Look,
bad.
what I mean by that,
look, I'm gonna turn the plate over like this. I'm not. No, I'm good. That's what I'm doing to me right now. I'm doing the me. Like, you know, that meme that the guy had the plate in the trash can, he flipped it over. That's what I'm doing to be enemy right now. I'm not high on the man.
I understand that, but how would you feel if he went somewhere else and he won a Super Bowl?
Hey, if he do, hey, shouts out to him. I eat crow.
Okay.
I want to ask you a question.
About everybody.
What are your one or two top qualities you look for in a head coaching candidate then?
Right now, it ain't just head coaching. We looking at what the Falcons need. All right, we're looking at what this team needs. Historically, we've been a bad defensive team. Am I lying?
No, of course not.
Okay, now, yes, we know we had Dirk Cutter here for a couple of years. This man has been trash. I get it. But I'm ready. I'm really ready for us to be a top 10 defensive unit in the league. And you pair that with a Matt Ryan, and then we know in a couple of years we're going to end up moving on from Matt Ryan if he digresses or whatever the case may be. But we have to have a plan in place, you guys, how this defense is going to get better. I've been asking people this for the longest. Arthur Blank, he said it himself. We haven't been good on defense, and we haven't been running the ball. So you have to bring somebody in who can give you a defense and who also is going to be a balanced play caller.
If that's the case, then why did the Rams go with Sean McVay?
Why did they go with Sean McVay?
Because if you go back to Sean McVay's first year, who was his defensive coordinator that first year?
Wade Phillips. Well, no one Wade Phillips. Was it?
It's not really about bringing in a defensive guy. It's all about the staff that you put together. So I believe a guy like Bieniemy can still come in and get the right defensive coordinator to put a staff together. I don't think you necessarily have to have a defensive coordinator in to have a. He
could, and that's what this is why I said that they must have a plan. If they coming in here saying that I'm gonna bring my cousin in who coach at FAMU, like, nah, bro, we ain't doing that.
But then why?
Hold on. This is why a lot of coaches get in trouble. They want to bring in their buddies instead of bringing in somebody who's gonna come in and get the job done. We've seen this happen plenty of times.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's just, nepotism's huge in the NFL. I mean, it's huge everywhere, but in the NFL, it's all about the relationships, who you know, and all that. I mean, that's why when I'm throwing out these coaching staffs, I look at the connections, just like you've looked at the connections with the GMs and stuff. But yes, I mean, it's important. I think that's one of the things with Staley, because he hasn't been in the NFL so long. I think he's just going to reach out to guys that he thinks are smart people, whether he knows them or not, or just is an acquaintance of theirs. But again, going back to Bieniemy, like, if he has a great plan, and he has a great plan for his staff and what the future of the Falcons looks like, then there's no reason to write him off then. I mean,
we'll see, man. Like I said, that's just my opinion. Everybody has their opinion on who they want, and you got some people who don't want Rich Ryan to get an interview. You got some people who don't like Robert Saleh. You got some people who don't like Brian Dabble. It just everybody got its different strokes for different folks. I'm a defensive minded person. I played safety, and I also coached defense. I was a defensive coordinator. So, like, that's my forte. I want somebody with I want a defense.
Yeah.
Now, other people, they want to see Matt Ryan and this offense score 45 points a game, okay, well then they're gonna look towards offense. Now this is another thing I pointed out. A lot of people didn't notice. I put a video out on Darren Simmons, who's a special teams coach for the Bengals. This man has produced a top 10 special teams unit pretty much ever since he's been in Cincinnati since 2003. All right, this man been there a long time, and his career is parallel to John Harbaugh's. I don't know why ain't nobody really giving this man a shot. He's also the assistant head coach for the Bengals right now. I think a lot of people now, the trend now is going towards these special teams coordinators who've been consistently good with all this time.
Connections come into play because Harbaugh, at least Harbaugh had Andy Reid in his back pocket.
Yeah, he did.
So for Simmons, he may not have. Not saying he doesn't have any, but I'm just saying he may not. I mean, he's been coaching under Marvin Lewis?
Marvin Lewis forever.
So I mean,
What do you make of the fact that the Andy Reid tree, like the offensive-minded guys haven't had as much success as the defensive or the special teams guys in Harbaugh's case have had with the Andy Reid tree? What do you make of that? Think that's a coincidence, fluke? I mean,
once again, man, we talk about like who are you going to tell it of the person who made it for 30 years, or you going to go to somebody who just made it? We look like Brett. You can go back to Brad Trigers. Yeah, he had a good season in Minnesota in that 2009 season.
And why did he have a good season that year? He had a quarterback finally. He had Brett Favre.
He had Adrian Peterson.
If you don't have a quarterback, it's tough. Even if you're a good offensive-minded coach, it really ties your hands behind your back. I mean, you saw what happened in Philly, just Carson Wentz falling off a cliff. That's going to be
why. You know why he fell off the cliff? You know why he fell off the cliff? Because of Frank Wright left. Frank Wright and then
very strong possibility.
D. Filipino, they left. When your coaching staff get poached, you're gonna start seeing the decline. It's just like with us. When Kyle Shanahan left and he took all of his guys with him.
That's part of having success. I mean,
okay, so here's my question to you then. If that's the case, why knock Doug Peterson since he's from the Andy Reid tree? If you're going to say the reason why he fell off is because he lost a key coach, you see what I'm saying? Because it's I'm looking at it to me. All right, I don't believe in having an offensive or defensive minded head coach. I believe you just get the right guy.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Because you see it in Sean McDermott is working in Buffalo. Brian Flores is working in Miami. But then Sean McVay is making it work in LA. Frank Wright is making it work in
Indianapolis.
I don't think it really matters if you have an offensive
guy. Good coach, you're a good coach, basically.
But here's the thing: to be a good head coach, though, you cannot micromanage, man. And you guys got to agree to that. You have to agree to that because we seen Dan Quinn micromanage the defense.
Yeah, I mean, when he took the defense upon himself, that I don't know, and then scapegoating Manuel. Like I wasn't disappointed to see Manuel go, and that's what made the whole decision to bring Dan Quinn back even more confusing. Was he put all that pressure on himself in 2019, and Arthur still gave him a second chance. But yeah, you can't micromanage. That's why the staff, again, going back to that, the staff is so important. Who you hire, so those are the guys you're supposed to entrust, and you let them do your job, and you do your job as a game manager, and making adjustments and all that, and being a part of those decisions. So that's why, again, there's not I say I'm pretty much lukewarm for every candidate except at the bare minimum, I'm lukewarm. The one I'm out on, though, is solid just because, again, I think you need a change of pace. You need someone that's not a Dan Quinn type, and I think solid.
I feel like if he bring in a DC that will actually call the defense, I think that'd be better. Let's look at guys like Don Martindale. All right, the man has already have a plan in place. He said that he's going to either bring Lovie Smith or Marvin Lewis in as his DC. Now, his offensive coordinator, he said he wants to bring in the offensive coordinator for Clemson to be his, and that's not a bad offensive coordinator.
And last year he wanted to bring Joe Brady in, so he's definitely wanting to bring some college roots to the offense. Which again, that's kind of where offenses are trending a little bit. So I mean, I like the plan. Again, I'm for Martindale.
And Sally, he already said he want to bring Mike McDaniel, LaFleur's good brother.
LaFleur, it seems like, and McDaniel again. McDaniel, I don't know why McDaniel can't get some head coaching shots. I mean, I think he's, if Brandon Staley's the defensive wonder kid next Sean McVay on the defensive side, I think Mike McDaniel is that offensive side.
You think teams are waiting for him to be that coordinator have that coordinator?
Yeah, that's probably the main reason. Yeah.
Is Kyle blocking them? I thought one of them had kept getting blocked.
Well, he's been denying that sort of thing, but I think they changed the rules on that where he can't do it as much anymore.
So Kyle gonna have to do it on his own.
Yeah, which he'll be fine, I'm sure. But those guys have been his dudes, and they're a big part of that offense. So again, I'd love to see Mike McDaniel, and that's why the whole Raheem Morris news with him getting Mike McDaniel is kind of like, man, because I did like a lot of the things that Raheem and Ulbrich did at times with the defense. I mean, certainly didn't like it in the finale against Tampa Bay, but they did some good things in that stretch run. But it's time for a fresh start. So
we need somebody that won't be stopped on third down. I'm so tired of seeing our DB.
Yeah, the sticks defense. Yeah, unfortunately, he's not the only one that does that. I mean, the Eagles, I think, notorious for doing that with Jim Schwartz. I don't know why. That someone needs to just burn that section of a defensive playbook because it's trash.
I'll give and Ulbrich some credit. Turning it down, putting in blitz.
Like Ulbrich could be Salah's defensive coordinator candidate. They work together in Seattle, and I think maybe another stop. So I wouldn't be shocked. Salah and Ulbrich were paired together.
Okay.
I mean, it wouldn't happen in Atlanta, of course. I don't think, but somewhere else.
We'll see.
Somebody asked a question about Tate said that I know you think Ryan is still capable of playing at a high level, but at a prime pick at 4, does it make sense to draft the quarterback and let him learn from Ryan?
Depends who the quarterback is. I mean, right now I'm only at Lawrence and Fields being worth that. I might be getting there with Zach Wilson. I gotta watch more on him. But I think they should trade down. I mean, I'm team trade down.
Trade down. I like Micah Parsons. If Micah Parsons draft stock is going to stay where it said it was going to be higher after the combine and everything, I think you can get a guy like Micah. Or if he needs Sewell, I know y'all ain't gonna like this pick. Sewell, I take him. I will take Sewell. That man is a monster.
Yeah, I'm out on Parsons at 4. I don't see it, guys. You're going to have to explain to me taking Parsons at 4. I think he's an elite athlete.
Watch our show Tuesday. We're going to be doing the draft prospect show on Tuesday.
All right.
So I'll drop the link to you.
He's an elite athlete. I don't think he's an elite linebacker right now. And from what I've seen, I wouldn't be surprised if he was like Hassan Reddick, where he starts off at off-ball linebacker, but really he finds a home as a pass rusher, because I think he's best when he can just kind of pin his ears back and go after the quarterback on delayed blitzes and all that. So I'm curious to see what you guys say, but yeah, on Tuesday. But
I'm not drafting the quarterback. I'm not drafting the quarterback at 4. I'm not. I'm just not. I'm not. You there's nothing. I don't care how Fields play tomorrow. I don't care. This man throw 20 touchdowns and throw for 1,000 yards. And I think I'm not fin to pay a fourth of my cap loaded up into one position.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, Ryan's going to be here in 2021 because of the cap. In 2022, I think he can still potentially be here. So you're essentially, with the 4th overall pick, that's $9 million in cap space the next 2 seasons to just sit on the bench. Like, I get finding the future quarterback is very important, but until Ryan really falls off a cliff, and he has not, he's still playing top 10 level. Yeah, I'm for accumulating assets. I mean, we saw how this season went, where they were in these games all the way through. Their win probability rate was over 50% entering the 4th quarter. Only 2 non-playoff teams did that, them and the Chargers, which, no surprise there. Chargers and the Falcons, 2 same teams, different conferences. Yeah. They can win. They can win, and I think that's why they're preaching. The plan needs to be how do you help us win now?
Yeah.
And I think the best way to do that is you're holding on to Ryan, you're holding on to Julio, trade down, accumulate picks, build the defense. You got to find a trade partner. That's the big problem. Are they going to be able to find a trade partner?
Chicago need
a lot of teams.
Chicago need a quarterback.
New England, quarterbacks in those teams. So
yeah,
I think it's there. It's just do they pull the trigger? And again, it depends who the coach is, because if it's a guy like Joe Brady being hired, a good chance he's gonna draft the quarterback. Probably.
But here's the thing, though. There's gonna be, I know at the level of quarterbacks, you got Trey Lance, Fields, and Lawrence. I get it, but I'm gonna put this name out here in the atmosphere, and I've been saying for this guy for a long time. He's not gonna probably go first round. He may not go second round. I like Brady White from Memphis. I think you have him sit under Matt Ryan and learn. He may. I'm not saying he's gonna probably be a starter, but I think
I don't even know who Brady White is.
He's from Memphis. Look at his tape.
I'll write that down. Yeah,
he's a good. I think.
Where do you think he's going in the draft right now? If it were to
second, third round.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Right now, but we'll see how I don't know if he's playing in the Senior Bowl or not. But
I know Memphis's coach, Ryan Silverfield. He's a guy that I wrote down as a name for an O-line coach position on the enemy staff. Those two worked together before, so I mean that would help that connection. Certainly, if the enemy were to be hired. But Eric, you seem like chomping at the bit. What do you got in the quarterback situation here?
I don't think we should discount the fact that this is going to be a new regime. It's going to be a new head coach, a new GM, and no one. I'm not sitting here saying that they should do this, but we shouldn't discount the fact that they're going to want their guy at quarterback at some point. They're not tied long term to Matt Ryan. Whoever comes in, doesn't matter if it's a defensive guy, offensive guy. It doesn't matter. They're not tied to Matt Ryan for the next 5 years. They may be tied to Matt for the next year or two, but they're going to want their guy eventually. And I can't, again, if it was me, I would go defense. I'll trade down and try to get some more picks and go defense heavy early. But again, this is a new regime, man. And I can't – it wouldn't surprise me at all if they stay at 4 and just get a quarterback just to have their guy.
But
they're not tied to Matt Ryan long term.
You're right. But here's the thing, though. If we hire a guy like Rick Smith, if you go back to the first time he drafted in 2006 with the Houston Texans, you got to realize Vince Young was the hot commodity coming out of the draft. Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. This man drafted Mario Williams. All right.
He had
I'm telling you, like Rick Smith's philosophy has always been the trenches.
And that's the thing. It's hard to answer this question because we don't know.
It all depends on who the GM is, and it all depends on the plan and what Arthur Blank and what Rich McKay.
Honestly, it really does.
He paid free agent money to Matt Schaub at that point in time. So Matt Schaub was the start. Matt Schaub was coming off a Pro Bowl year that year when they drafted Mario Williams. So they didn't need a quarterback at that point in time. They may not need a quarterback now, but you look at this situation, Matt Ryan's 35 years old. Again, they're not tied to him long term. And I don't think this team is going to honestly look at Matt Ryan as a starter in a couple of years with this new head coach, new regime come in. I think they may say, hey, we can be able to win next year, but 2022, we might need to start looking elsewhere. And I think right now in the prime position, I can't put it past a new voice in the locker room. I can't put it past them by not getting their guy in the top.
I agree with you, but like I said, it may not be this year. Next year, I can bet money next year they're going to be looking for a quarterback. Like I said, they may end up. They're going
to be bad again. They're going to be picking high again at some point.
Well, I'm not saying that. Come on now. I'm not saying they could, but people, I'm just saying for this fan base, I'm just talking about for the fan. This fan base thinking that this is the last year that some good quarterbacks will come out of the draft. All right. We got Rattler might come out next year. Rattler from Oklahoma is a bad man.
It's going to be other quarterbacks. And again, I haven't thrown this out yet. We'll do it here. Look at the Chargers a couple years ago. The Chargers in 2016 were picking 3rd overall with a 34, 35-year-old Philip Rivers. Then the following year, they were picking 7th overall in 2017 with Mahomes and Watson, and they elected to go in a different position. They got Mike Williams that year. They wanted to continue to reload for Philip Rivers to go one more time. It's a similar position in Atlanta. Like, they got a 34, 35-year-old Matt Ryan. They're picking high. And they want to reload one more time because, again, whoever comes in, whoever the plan is, they got to show them they can win now and also draft a quarterback if they're going to go that way. So I think it's going to be much easier to show a plan on how you win now and not draft the quarterback than to draft the quarterback.
But the thing is, when you draft drafting the quarterback doesn't equate to you winning. We've seen teams like Cleveland, like the Jets, like the Dolphins, draft the quarterbacks, and they don't pan out.
It takes 50 guys. Quarterback wins is not a stat. And we saw we had a good quarterback, and we haven't gotten the job done outside of those couple years because you need to build an entire team. And I think trading down
is the best thing.
It's the best thing at this point.
It may be the best.
Can we address this? Can we address the comment?
Go ahead, Devontae.
I was asking, could we address the comment real quick? You said the one.
This one, can we all read that? I mean, it's funny seeing losing seasons, what they do to the fan base and stuff.
He's talking about Justin Fields.
So whatever gets us W, honestly, I think.
Look, let me tell y'all something. Let me tell these Falcons fans something. Y'all better hope and pray this boy win tomorrow. Y'all better hope and pray. I want the boys to succeed. I don't wish no ill will on any player. But y'all hyping this man up like this man is like the next Peyton Manning or something.
You want to know why?
Y'all better hope this man win. I know why.
No, I can't say it. Say it. Go ahead.
It's because he left Georgia.
Y'all better hope. I'm telling y'all better hope and pray this man win tomorrow.
That's
why I'm all in y'all mentions tomorrow night.
But you can't be all in their mentions because you don't know what he's gonna do in the NFL.
But look, if you lose that game tomorrow, his stock is gonna drop a little bit. It all depends on how you perform tomorrow.
But he playing Bama.
But hey,
I guess if he loses, he's no different than Jake Fromm losing a national championship game, right? So I guess that's why.
Jake Fromm, come on, man. Don't compare Jake Fromm to Justin Fields, man.
No, I'm not.
I'm not going to let you do that.
No. Listen, I bring it up because, when I said, I tweeted out last week that, moving on from Justin Fields for Jake Fromm was the equivalent of moving on from Sark for Dirk Cutter. And people were in my mentions saying, like, Jake Fromm was good. He was actually good then. I'm like, no. That was a total downgrade from what you could have had. The ceiling for Justin Fields, as you're seeing at Ohio State, is sky high. So, like,
because of the scheme we run here at UGA, it's different.
It's like a pro style,
it's different. Yeah, and Fields can run that. Like,
and that's the problem, I guess, with Georgia. You got to change your scheme around your talent that you have. Maximize the talent you have.
It's the coaching they had at the time. Like, here's the thing, and also Day does a good job with the quarterbacks up there at Ohio State. That's why he was chosen to succeed Urban Meyer. All right. I watch more Big Ten football than anybody because I watch Michigan football. Yeah. So, but
if they had Munkin now, I think Munkin would have been able to.
Fields cannot read a defense. All right. And up there, Ohio State, I'm telling you, up there, Ohio State, before he snapped the ball, he got to look over there today and to figure out what's going on. I'm telling y'all what I know.
I'm gonna tell you this: Patrick Mahomes said he couldn't read a defense either.
He couldn't, and that's why he has a quarterback whisperer as his head coach.
I understand that, but I don't want to base his sole career in saying he can't read a defense like that's going to stop him. He can still he not being able to read a defense is like I just said. Patrick Mahomes can't read a defense. Well, he said he can now, but he said he can't. He wasn't able to read a defense. So don't look at that and say, "Oh." And a lot of
I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm not saying that it all depends on the scheme. You got to be married to a person who can actually help you with that, like an Andy Reid, like a doggone Sean Payton. Those guys are good at helping their quarterbacks.
Even if that's the case right now, could he not improve when it comes to reading defenses, when it comes to film study? Those are things he can pick up at the NFL level.
He could. The key word could.
Defenses, because he's sitting under a guy like Matt Ryan. He can pick Matt Ryan brains when it comes to reading defense. Like to me, that's something he can improve on. And I don't even know if that's the case right now. I mean, that's something we'll have to dive into when it comes to looking at his college film.
But that's the thing. He could. Just like they said about Jake Locker. They thought Jake Locker was going to be the next best quarterback. Same thing with Jamarcus Russell. You know,
whoa. We not gonna put Jamarcus Russell in the same category as anybody. He was the biggest bust.
He's lazy.
But before, listen, when he was coming during the draft, everybody was hyping this man up.
Well, if you wanted, they hype everybody up. That's good, honestly.
All right, so once again, that goes back to
another thing. Yeah, I mean that's another thing with the quarterback at 4. It's like there's no guarantee you're getting a Matt Ryan level player or an upgrade over Matt Ryan. So that's why I'm not on board right now pushing Matt Ryan out of town any sooner than you have to.
There's also no guarantee that you can kick the can to 2021 and 2022 and think you're going to find your quarterback, because that's what Cleveland did. And you see what happens when you don't find the right guy.
Well, again,
it goes on for 20 years that you keep drafting Brandon Wheaton, Johnny Manziel, Tim Couch. You keep going after guys like Robert Griffin because you're trying to get it right and you can't get it right. Like this is, I feel like some fans are taking that approach. Like, oh, we'll get a quarterback when we need one. It's not that easy.
Well, no, but they tried though. Those examples that you just mentioned, they tried and they missed. And look what happens. It sets them back. Right. So like you got to be sure. You got to be sure in your evaluation process.
Exactly.
If you take a quarterback at 4, he's got to be it. Because if
you
not,
have to have somebody there too.
But you
have to have somebody there to develop that quarterback.
Can we just talk about how they took Brandon Whedon, who was literally in baseball for most of his years?
I mean, he was like 28 years old. He was almost a 30-year-old when they took him. Like,
made no sense. I just wanted
and that's why they're the Cleveland Browns, I guess.
And exactly. Why would you draft a Brandon Whedon? That was dumb.
Want to know why they drafted him? Because he was hot.
Right.
They drafted him.
that was what the Falcons picked too. That
just like the Buffalo Bills drafting J.P. Lossman. Like, ugh.
That's the thing, man. It's the draft. It's exactly what you're calling it, the draft. You don't know what any of these players are going to be.
Yeah.
You draft them, they're on your team. And now that they're on your team, you have to find the right coaching staff and the right people to put around this player to make
David. Don't come in here and talk. Do not put Sewell and Mandrich in the same sentence. Mandrich was a doggone crackhead. Come on, don't come at Sewell like that. Man was on the juice. He was on the juice, the cocaine.
Where are you playing Sewell? Yeah, and the offensive line in general. If you drafted him, like
who's playing guard?
Yeah, like what's your offensive line setup if you draft Sewell?
This is what I do. Like I know it's not a smart thing, but I will move Matthews inside, and you put Sewell at tackle.
He's never played guard before.
I know he hasn't, but we can.
He played center. He played center though, right?
Who, Matthews?
Yeah, in college.
He played freshman year.
Yeah, that was it. Freshman year, and that was it. But we can try. Like, here's the thing.
That is probably better than having Sewell be at guard or
yeah, I wouldn't have him. I wouldn't have him something that he's not familiar with. I would have him at tackle.
That would be the one answer I guess I'd accept if you do draft Sewell.
Because we know Matthews is a monster when it comes to run blocking.
So his run blocking hasn't been great, but I think the reason it hasn't been is because they haven't been running enough of the wide zone.
It's the play caller, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, what's crazy is they talked and preached about running more wide zone this year with Dirk Cutter, and we got really none of that. We got mostly inside.
You know not to believe anything what Cutter comes out of his mouth, man. Everything coming out of that man's mouth is a dang lie.
Yeah, so starting James Carpenter.
You got to get those athletes out in space because that's where Matthews and McGarry thrive. So again, whoever the play caller is, hopefully they do that, and that'll you'll see an uptick in the run game just from that alone. But I mean, I don't know if they're going to draft Sewell. I think the Browns or the Bengals will end up.
Yeah, I don't think he's making. I feel like he's not making them past the Bengals, but we don't know.
Like his floor.
Well, I think we should definitely bring up. I remember Eric. I saw you on Twitter today. You had a conversation with Mike Bell defending Matt Ryan and how he haven't had a defense. I would like for you to expand on how you felt about that.
I think. Well, first of all, I think
you haven't blocked Mike Bell yet. Like, what are you doing?
Mike Bell, look, man, they've been him and Carr Dukes. They sit there and they just drink that doggone hate man beer and talk whatever they want to talk on air.
I don't. That's what they do.
Now, Carr Dukes is worse too. Carr Dukes came in last year.
I don't.
Well, yeah, Carr Dukes came in me in 2019. Oh, I'm coming on the show because I'm like, yeah, he never showed up. Whatever, man.
With Mike Bell, well, first of all, Mike Bell didn't get my original point that I made. And the point that I was making was that, Matt Ryan can go out and have, 121 quarterback rating against the Chiefs, and he gets the blame for that loss. But Russell Wilson can have, a 72 quarterback rating against the Rams, and no one wants to talk about it. Like I felt like that was unfair because Matt Ryan gets to blame literally every game for every loss that they have.
I retweeted that too. Go ahead, Eric.
And he can play outstanding, but Mike Bell took it as, I guess I was picking on Russell Wilson or whatever. So he decided to say, hey, Matt Ryan has had bad games before. That's not the point that I was trying to make, Mike. But my thing with all this is, the back and forth that him and I had, it was, I guess he's a believer in the fact that they need to move on from Matt Ryan right now. I personally feel like, hey, Matt Ryan still got some juice left in him, man. You can't sit here and blame Matt for what happened in the second half against Tampa Bay. The defense gave him 31 second half points. That's not Matt's fault.
Yeah.
You give Matt Ryan a better play caller, I promise you, it'll be very similar with Aaron Rodgers' experience when McCarthy left and LaFleur went there. He'll probably experience the same thing. I'm telling you.
You can go to a respectable defense.
And you can, he wanted to pick on, Matt Ryan not be able to do anything in second half of games. Well, in that Kansas City game, Matt Ryan drove him 75 yards down the field to get a touchdown, and he drove him down the field again the next drive to put him in field goal position to tie the game. Mm-hmm. And Koo couldn't make the kick. So again, why is the blame being put on Matt Ryan for a lot of these situations? And again, Mike Bell is just set in his ways when it comes to stuff like that.
Well, a lot of people.
Go ahead.
A lot of people only watch just to see what the hell goes on with Matt. I think the problem begins where they think all four quarters are just on the quarterback's shoulders. Right. I think there's three phases of football, and people only care about one of them for some reason. So I do think that people ignore that Matt Ryan did lead them into scoring position. And when we watch film on that play, you got wide receivers tripping into each other, running it. It's like just ridiculousness. And the fact that he was even to get them in scoring position with that going on, I think is more of a testament to Matt Ryan's prowess.
Right. Yeah. Because, they feel Matt has to save the day when the defense is not getting a stop late in
the game. Defense always get a pass.
That's
no one like the Dallas game. We scored 39 points on the road. That should be enough to win a doggone game.
Hell, they got a pass in the Detroit game. Yeah. Detroit was on the field with no timeouts with roughly 40 seconds left, and you let them drive the length of the field to score on a game-winning play.
And they basically use the excuse that Falcons never had a defense, so that's supposed to be good enough. They never had a defense.
And that's why our trophy case is got cobwebs in it.
It's a loser mentality type of
get paid to prevent the other team from scoring. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, it takes 53, and it shouldn't always just be on the quarterback to bail his coordinator out, his defense out, his head coach out.
You know what? I remember Matt Ryan got the blame for that Bengals loss that we were talking about earlier.
Oh, man.
When they scored with 2 seconds left. The Bengals scored with 2 seconds left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Matt Ryan should do more touchdowns. Even the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is a great example. Oh, Matt Ryan took. Last time I checked, Matt Ryan played quarterback. This man did not play safety. He was not defensive end. He was not linebacker.
I believe Matt Ryan in that game had 282 yards,
He had one of the best
Yeah,
quarterback
ratings in Super Bowl history. I think he had the third best.
Yeah,
It was third. I thought it was first.
It was
I think Montana got it first.
Matt Ryan was very good, confirmed good in the Super Bowl.
And I think with the problem that fans have is that they constantly bring up the amount of money he's making. That's why he's supposed to be,
He's not making that much anymore. You look at all these other quarterbacks that got paid after him.
Like, again, that's what happens in the NFL. You're a quarterback. You make it to your second and third contract. You make money if you're still in this league.
If we're being honest, his deal is cheap as hell right now.
Exactly. That's what
it becomes a bargain every new quarterback contract that comes out.
Yeah, you know how many quarterbacks that got paid after Matt Ryan?
He's 9th or 10th right now.
Anymore.
He's 9th or 10th right now in average.
Yeah.
But that's only because the market goes up every year.
Well, yeah, exactly.
That's the only reason that his contract looks so bad. But think about when he got his contract. Let's be honest, though. When he got his contract, did Matt Ryan deserve to be the highest paid quarterback when he got his contract?
No, he just came off his MVP season, yeah.
Understood.
Well, no, I'm with you. He wasn't the best player in football. But again, that's what happens. If you're the next quarterback up and you're still playing at a high level, you get paid. Then you get paid the next highest.
The leverage to get
paid.
Yeah,
he just came off his MVP season. Yeah. Like you just
and he has MVP in his trophy case.
He was getting paid. He was going to get paid.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he didn't deserve to get paid. I said that he deserved to get paid what he got.
Because prior to Matt getting his contract, I think Matt Stafford was number one then. Stafford isn't like he's a good quarterback, but he didn't deserve to be number one. It's just what happens.
This is how it is.
And Matt Ryan having that placement at number one, it didn't last long.
No, it lasted a month or two, and then Aaron Rodgers, I think, took it over.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers took it over, and then you got
Now there's like 7, 8 guys after him.
So I think all of us are on the same page here when we feel like, hey,
yeah.
And honestly, in Matt's 12-year career in Atlanta, Matt has done what he can do, man.
Yeah,
Matt has put this team in position for a lot of wins. A lot of wins. We can go to the Saints game in 2018 where they let they gave up a game-winning drive. Matt didn't even touch the ball in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
We can bring up the Detroit game this year. We can bring up the Dallas game this year. Hell, we can bring up the Chicago game this year.
Arizona from last year. I mean, Matt Ryan was balling, 130 quarterback rating.
A 16-point lead with 4 minutes left. What else does Matt need to do?
Yeah.
But the thing is, they want this man to score. They want this man to score 7 touchdowns every game, and throw 600 yards. Like that's impossible. You're not going to do that. You're not like people got to understand that Kyle Shanahan 2006. That we might not ever see that season again.
Probably not. That was one of the greatest defensive seasons ever.
Exactly. Like that was a historic offense. It's called historic for a reason because you don't see it like that often.
Right.
And people don't understand, like, it is time. This is why I've been hell bent on defense. It is time for us to get a defense unit in here, and we can win games 17-10. We can win games doggone 13-10, or we can win a game 24-20.
I'm glad you brought that up because if you go back and look now, Matt he led the league in passing attempts this year. And if you look at his career, I think the years that he's had like over 600 passing attempts,
you're not looking good.
It made the playoffs maybe once, maybe twice.
And you know why? Because I'm pretty sure most of those pass attempt years was Cutter was here.
Dirk Cutter was offensive coordinator 3 of those 5 seasons. Yes.
Exactly.
Let's also look at what we all know here. This is a quarterback-driven league. So when you lose the game, everybody goes to the quarterback. So a lot of this is just because of the position Matt Ryan plays. So let's not we all agree here. Matt Ryan is not the problem for this team.
No.
But since he plays quarterback, he has to take the blame for it.
Right. And we get that. But the thing is, we get with some of these Falcons fans, they never want to keep that same energy for other quarterbacks in the league. Look at what happened with Russell Wilson last night. Played like trash. No one said anything.
All right. Speaking of Russell Wilson, though, earlier this year when that defense was horrible, they still was winning games.
Oh, he was off to an MVP pace.
Yeah, exactly.
His first 5 games of the year, I think he was over 105 quarterback rating each of the first 5 games. Like, he was phenomenal. When that defense couldn't stop anybody.
Exactly. So when you look at it from that point, Matt Ryan wasn't doing that earlier this year. We were losing a lot of games. Matt Ryan was balling. Don't get me wrong. He was balling, but he wasn't winning games when we needed him to win games.
So I do believe something here. I do believe the Falcons fans, most Falcons fans, honestly, their problem is not with Matt Ryan's performance per se. It's almost like they hate him as the player, because of who he succeeded after. Because we
That's what it
always see
is. That's what it is.
each year we have to see, and I'm sorry to bring this up, but each year we always see they want the next hot black quarterback every time. Especially when you see them in the Facebook groups, it's always the next black guy.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem, honestly.
Folks up here capping for doggone Dwayne Haskins to come down.
It's not even that. Well, it is that.
It is that.
It is that. But I think he also, because when it comes to Matt Ryan, he doesn't have a Patrick Mahomes arm. He doesn't have, the Aaron Rodgers instincts. He doesn't have that, but he still can be a winning quarterback in the league. I think he also falls victim to fans being envious of other quarterback skills. Like I said, fans want Matt Ryan to have that Patrick Mahomes arm, but he doesn't have it, and he doesn't need it in order to win in this league.
Exactly.
It's unfair what he's been through in his tenure in Atlanta, because great point, man. He 12 years in the league, and he's still fighting Mike Vick ghosts. Let's be honest.
And look, man, I seen somebody last night. Most of these fans are prisoners of the moment. Somebody said Heineke. Oh man, we need to bring Heineke to replace Matt Ryan. I'm like, y'all. I'm like, y'all didn't even know who this man was before last night.
All you got to do is search his Twitter history, and I'm sure that they won't want to bring him to Atlanta after that. That man has had some bad takes about some certain topics. I won't go into details, but I saw some.
I know he from Gwinnett County, and I ain't talking about. I'm talking about the boondock part of Gwinnett County. I ain't talking about Lawrenceville.
Yeah, I mean, he's a MAGA guy, so
one of them Proud Boys. Yeah, well,
I heard the same about Zach Wilson honestly earlier.
Well, yeah. Falcons Kingdom was retweeting stuff about him, liking a lot of MAGA tweets. So, yeah, I mean, you're right though. Prisoner of the moment. Everyone's watching playoff games and seeing these guys do these things, and you're like, oh man, let's bring all these good players to Atlanta that are having these great games during the weekend. But yeah, I mean, you guys touched on. I mean, they've resented Matt Ryan from I think the moment he was drafted, just because of who he had to replace. And it's unfortunate that, again, there's a lot of people that they won't know what they have until he's gone. I mean, when Matt Ryan's gone, man, I hope we've been very fortunate for 13 years. And even the Vic years, we were relevant. For the past 20 years, we haven't really had to worry about quarterback. And, eventually we will.
Yeah, go ahead.
I still remember those Joey Harrington days in 2007. That wasn't fun.
That was honestly the worst year, I think, for me as a fan.
I'm telling you, man, once Matt Ryan leave, man, hopefully we don't go to a dark ages of quarterbacks, and we're going to be like, man, we wish Matt Ryan was here.
They're going to miss him. And a lot of people are still questioning his Hall of Fame status as well. I do believe he's a Hall of Famer. Maybe not first ballot, but again, you look at the guy's numbers. The man is top 10 in yards. He's top 10 in touchdowns.
People don't appreciate consistency enough. Like
exactly.
And that's why like the whole. I think Randy Moss is a top 3 receiver, probably top 2. But when they put Randy Moss over Jerry Rice, I kind of take issue with that, because I just think Jerry Rice did it for much longer, was more consistent, whereas Randy Moss had those big years. And again, it matters. But I think longevity is important. And that's why I think Tony Gonzalez, it's going to be tough to touch him as the greatest tight end of all time, just because he had the longevity. Yeah, Gronk might have had those peak years, but longevity is just so important. I think, probably one of the most important things for a Hall of Fame resume. And I think Matt's done it at this point. I mean, 13 years now, going to go on 14. I don't know if he's first ballot unless he gets that ring, but I think it's a lock.
He deserves a gold jacket. Absolutely.
Respect to QB1, man. Gotta respect the QB1.
Yeah, greatest to ever do it for the Falcons.
That is true.
I want y'all to say that again, because I was actually told, because whenever I bring up Matt Ryan, they're like, "Oh, you know Michael Vick was the best player the Falcons ever had." I'm like, "Well,
he was exciting to watch. That was it, man.
He was the one who put a
most
stain
athletic.
on the organization.
Yeah.
He put a stain on the organization, and we praise this man.
He wasn't a quarterback. I mean, it wasn't until he linked up with Andy Reid in Philly that he became a quarterback.
I think
exactly.
a case that
I don't know athleticism, and
make a case that he might have been the most popular player in Falcons history, but
yeah, sure.
Falcons history, no. It's hard to look at that. I mean, and I love Vic.
He's the reason I'm a fan. So I mean,
right, he's the reason I'm a fan too. But I mean, to say, let's be honest, man. What Matt Ryan has accomplished, it has eclipsed Mike Vick a long time ago. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, the first
year, yeah. I mean, he pretty much surpassed him. You know?
Yeah.
The moment that he won MVP and took the team to the Super Bowl, like
that was it. That's a wrap.
Yeah, you can lay the Mike Vick thing rest now.
But folks didn't want to do that. Folks kept talking about, oh man, that Kyle Shanahan made Matt Ryan. I'm like, okay, well, why Kyle Shanahan had made another Matt Ryan since?
Yeah, how's Jimmy doing over there? How's Jimmy Garoppolo doing?
Matt Ryan has 2 consecutive years of 4,000 passing yards, and Shanahan's only been the coordinator for 2 of them. So I mean, come on, man.
You can argue.
He got Mike Mularkey a head coaching job. He got head coaching job.
Shanahan, and he almost, and everybody remember that 2018 season, that midway of the season. Folks were talking about not Dirk Cutter. Everybody was talking about Steve Sarkisian to be a candidate to be a head coach in the NFL.
Yep.
I promise you, we would have made the playoffs in 2018. Steve Sarkisian would be a head coach somewhere right now.
That man made Harry Douglas a 1,000-yard receiver.
Yeah, y'all talking about coaches. What about the players that've gotten contracts based solely?
Man, Taylor Gabriel.
Harry Douglas.
Man, Harry Douglas. Muhammad Sanu. Like
that man ain't what he had 1,000-yard receiving year.
Yeah, Harry Douglas. Yeah, 2013.
Everyone after that or before that was no more than 600 yards.
Yeah,
none of them after or before that 1,000-yard season. Thank to Matt Ryan. So
it might be the number 83.
Yeah,
shout out to Russell Gage.
Yeah, no, it's possible. I mean, if they get the right play caller in here, this offense could have, Russ and Calvin and Julio potentially being 1,000-yard receivers.
I just
can we talk about Julio real quick?
Yeah.
Do y'all think Julio has another full season in him?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not giving up on him. If this happens again, then I have my doubts about where he's at. But yeah, I think he'll be ready to go.
The hamstring is a tricky injury, man.
Well, and they mismanaged his, and I think they mismanaged Tax. Like they rushed those guys back this year.
Yeah, those are one of
you don't mess with hamstrings.
Hamstrings, concussions. I think those injuries are like, man, you really got to take your time with it because even turf toe is another injury where you got to take your time with it. If you rush it back, man, it may never heal properly, and it's an injury that can last all year. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for this because this is a man that came back from a broken bone in his foot, and he's done it twice. So he had a lingering hamstring injury, and to be quite honest, he never really looked 100% to me when he came back. But the man still has 771 yards, guys.
Yeah, that is true.
That man was still another 1,000-yard season.
Can y'all say?
He finished his Pro Football Focus as top 6 or 7 receiver in his time. When he was out there, he was the same Julio we know.
Yeah, definitely. So I think Julio still has some life left in him. Absolutely.
Yeah.
How much life though? We giving him 1 full season or 2 full seasons of a good Julio?
I'm not going to put a number on it. I think that's part of the reason he linked up with T.O. is because what T.O. was so good at was being so good so late in his career, and I just think he has to link up with him again and continue that sort of regimen because I think he can still play into his mid-30s, and right now he's going to be 32 next year or later this year. So I still think he's got a handful. I'm not going to put a number on it. I want to see, how next year looks for him, but I still think he's got some years left in the tank, just like Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And talking about injuries, what did y'all think about Dante Fowler and him saying that? Well, and then now
they gotta get him out of town. They gotta swap his contract out.
Yeah.
For
Fowler is funny because I'll be honest with you, man. He uses injury as an excuse.
Exactly. I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, I'm not buying that either.
sit here and use that as an excuse when we just saw Calvin Ridley have a career high season and he had a foot injury just about all year long.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley missed time and came back and still produced with that lingering foot injury. And now you want to sit here with, most of the 10, 12 games gone, and now you want to sit here and say, man, I had knee injuries all year.
But we know why Dante Fowler was good, though. He had Aaron Donald next to him.
I'll be honest with you guys. You guys may be able to recall this. I don't really recall seeing Fowler on injury reports early in the year. So for him to sit here and say, man, I've been hurt. Everybody been hurt.
Yeah.
Everybody's hurt.
The only time they said that was prior to the season. During the season,
Grady Jarrett banked up a little bit.
Everyone's banged up, especially late in the year. I'm not buying
Sheffield was hurt.
Calvin really missed time with a foot injury, and he still was at one point top 5 in receiving yards. He just had a career high year.
Again,
this is why I did not like the. This is why I did never like the Dante Fowler transaction. I said this is not going to work out. Everybody was sitting up here calling me a fool. Everybody talking about well, he's going to be better than Vic Beasley, and I'm like, all right, that's what y'all think.
He was exactly Vic Beasley. I mean, the hope was.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. At least Vic Beasley walked out the door last year with 8 sacks. And I'm not using sack. I'm not trying to glorify sacks as a measurement to, I want consistent pressure. And yes, you should get to the quarterback, often.
He got his sacks late though.
I think he was more closer to Clowney this year.
Who got his sacks late?
Vic Beasley.
No, he didn't. He got
those sacks when the season was over.
We talking about he got 8 sacks in last year, and he got some of his sacks here and there. Now there was a game that I think he got 2 sacks in. But other than that, like he got a sack here and there. He was consistent. Now, here's the thing: like the last 4 games, I believe he didn't get a sack, but he got some sacks like here and there. It wasn't like he just got a bunch of sacks at the end of the season, because at the end of the season he was cooled down. He didn't really get anything.
With Dante Fowler,
it's a shame. He was, I think, 2 away from Mike Bell having to get that tattoo on his ass.
Exactly. Yeah, he was about to get 10. He was about to get 10. Because I remember the last couple of seasons of the last games of the season, he didn't get anything, and I'm like, dang, I wish he would have got that 10.
That's the only reason I was hoping for it.
The thing with Fowler, man, like, look, I think Raheem Morris was right for calling him out at the end of the year, and he called him out, and he deserved to be called out. You got a 3-year deal as a free agent to come in and get to the quarterback. You got 2 linebackers that play behind you that outproduced you in terms of sacks.
Exactly. And that's, to me, that's bad. You're getting outplayed by someone who barely is on the team. Jacob's there to outplay you.
I'll be honest with you. I really don't care a whole lot about pressures. Pressures just tells me you're almost getting to the quarterback. That really doesn't matter a whole lot in this league, to be quite honest with you. I think we're putting too much value into that. Because when it comes to that aspect, he was one of the best on the team.
In pressure, but he just couldn't get home.
Yeah. He was one of the best, but it still wasn't a high number.
What'd you say, Devontae?
I need you to do me a favor and clip what Eric just said, and we're going to post it everywhere. I need you to clip what Eric just said, and we post it everywhere. You know why?
Why?
Oh, yeah. I know why. Inside joke.
We've got a guy that kind of values pressures over sacks.
All right, just time step it at 1 hour and 49 minutes.
All right.
But yeah, so I just when it comes to Falcons, no one really, I don't think anyone really expected him to come in and lead the league in sacks, But the expectations he did not meet. He did not come close to be, to meet. So again, I think Morris was right for calling him out, man. You're coming off a career high season, and people still have their doubts on you when you sign with Atlanta. You got to prove yourself, man. So again, I think next year.
Funny you mentioned that too, because he literally, you remember that video? He had that bottle of champagne after he got signed.
I hated that video.
Yeah, you popping bottles and stuff, man. You getting paid. You said I can improve myself. Well, prove yourself. You got to
He said he was gonna break the sack record too.
Man, it just him attack, man. That's all they did was just run their mouth and didn't do anything.
you want to prove yourself. You played, 13, 14 games this year, and you have 3 sacks, my man. That's not proving yourself.
And
What's good, CJ?
I will tell you guys this. I think there is a possibility that the Falcons can get out of this contract this offseason.
I hope so. Shoot.
There is. They will.
Yeah, it's got to be post June 1.
It has to be post June 1. Yeah, they'll swallow some dead cap money, but they can.
And the savings, they can use it on the draft class. So like that, that's got to be the first order of business. The GM, in my opinion, has to do is do that, because people talk about all the big contracts on the Falcons books. Most of them are pretty solid players, good contributors. I mean, it's Matt Ryan, it's Julio Jones, it's Jake Matthews, it's Deion Jones, it's Grady Jarrett.
Mm-hmm.
The one bad contract right now is this Dante Fowler contract, because he's got like an $18 million cap hit next year. You can't have that. You can't have Dante Fowler not producing and sitting on the books for $18 million. So that's, whoever the GM hire is, that's what they got to do. They got to get that out of there. And hopefully bring in, I threw out Carl Lawson. I think that would be a great guy.
Absolutely.
Again, we're talking sacks. You look at his numbers. He hasn't been a 10-digit sack guy, but he does affect the quarterback. He is an every down player. He's a guy I like, since his Auburn days.
What about Charles Harris?
I mean, he can come back on a vet min deal. It was weird with him because you saw him kind of falling out of favor almost. He was getting fewer and fewer snaps as the year progressed. I liked him early in the year. Again, at a vet min, because they're going to have to bring in some bodies as depth.
Yeah,
I'd be open to him. I'm more open to Steven Means and probably Jacob Two-Headed Mariner. But if they choose Charles Harris,
in terms of production, Charles Harris pretty much matched.
Well, yeah,
he matched everything. That's why I said Charles Harris. I would like to bring. If we can bring him back on the cheap deal.
You just can't have you got to have the same expectations all the way throughout. Like, he's not going to do anything more than that.
On a cheap 1-year deal as a depth center.
Yeah. Again, they're going to have to do that, because that's what they're going to have to do to fill out the roster.
Because I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to take us a good 2 seasons to really get some pass rush going.
Yeah.
We can draft a guy or 2 in the draft.
But again, look at that's why I'm so high on Brandon Staley. You look at the Rams. They brought Leonard Floyd in, but he was really no better than Vic Beasley for the most part. Yeah. And he's now, Brandon Staley has gotten the most out of a guy like Leonard Floyd, and
he knows Leonard Floyd well because he's
from Chicago.
Linebackers coach in Chicago.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But when Staley left to go to Denver, he fell off.
Right, exactly. So bringing a guy like Brandon Staley in, he doesn't need a lot of pieces, to have a successful defense. Like he's scheming these guys up. He's scheming the pressures. He's getting these matchups that he wants. So yeah, while I agree, on paper, the roster, it's going to take a couple years to really get some horses in there, some big name guys. I don't think you necessarily need that right off the bat if a coach like Brandon Staley's pulling the strings.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Anything else? We got 22 people in the chat right now. Thank y'all for watching. I know right now we watching this game right now, and the Browns pulling a killing on them right now.
They are, but if
it's 35-16, but the Steelers they trying to come back in this game.
Yeah, if they score here, it's gonna be a ball game.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Yeah, so we'll see. But
they was up 25 points at halftime. Falcons fans.
Man, I hope they don't pull a Falcon.
I'm just gonna put it out there.
I actually hope
if an organization were to do it, though, it'd probably be the Cleveland Browns.
I would hope so. Goddamn, I'm tired of hearing about it.
Y'all want to take the joke away? Go ahead.
You're not gonna live that down, man. We lost that in the
game. I don't care how many guys.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We lost it in the Super Bowl. Like that's never going away unless we win one. Even after we win one, they still gonna bring that up. So
we did have a whole season worth of it, so I can't even ignore it.
They ain't going nowhere. 28-3 will be here forever.
All right, one more question. Rose said, "What defensive scheme best fit the Falcons right now? 3-4 or 4-3?"
4-3.
It all depends on who you bring in as a head coach.
I mean, they utilize both, so I don't know if it necessarily matters.
It all depends on the personnel you have on the team.
Right now, They have 4-3 personnel.
Yeah.
I think 4-3 is the best defense.
If that answers the question.
That'd be a quick fix for our pass rush if we keep it at 100. I'd rather do the 4-3.
I don't know. I really like the 3-4 scheme. I like what it brings to the table because I think you can mix a lot, especially at that second level, at the linebacker level. Especially if you got the right athletes, the right players. But right now, if they had to play a game today, it's a 4-3 scheme. They got 4-3 personnel right now.
Yeah.
Just reminds me how they had Marlon Davidson playing edge in the final game at 300 pounds.
That's because the foul ain't doing shit.
Yeah. And when you got to think about it, we're not setting the edge neither. So you got to have somebody there like a Marlon Davidson who is good at stopping the run.
Yeah, he basically, I mean, it was tough for him. A lot of injuries. He got COVID. This was kind of just like get your feet wet and, let's get right for next year. And hopefully, you see the return on the investment from that second round pick. But yeah, this was a tough year for him just because of the injuries and COVID and all that.
David, right now, to be honest with you, everybody too small on this defensive line. That's why I'm ready to get rid of Tyler Davidson and you draft a true one-tech guy. Well, I ain't say draft him in the first round.
Yeah, as long as it's a late round pick.
We just need a bigger guy. We need a bigger guy at one tech. Yeah, Tyler Davidson is too small for me. I feel like the last good one tech person we had was Ruben. I miss Ruben.
What about Big Graded?
Huh?
Big Graded Jackson.
Oh yeah, man. But I remember we had Ruben in 2017, and like that right there, we brought him in, I believe, like the middle of the season, and he improved our run defense.
I'm still, like, if y'all know these names, I'm still looking at Tadaro Slayton out of Florida. That man's what, 6'5", 350?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I want somebody built like a Mack truck right there.
Nice late round guy. You don't really expect much from him at the one tech. Yeah, that's what you need to play nose.
Yeah, we need something. We need our own version of Brandon Williams here in Atlanta. That's what we need.
Yeah.
All right. Poe was good, but like I said, we brought Ruben in to help with the run defense. Fowler, okay, yeah. All right. Well, look, we about to go ahead and get off here. I think we answered a lot of questions. If a question comes up, we'll stop and we'll answer it. But thank y'all for joining us. Stay tuned this week. We got a lot of games to cover for this NFL playoff. 2 will be broadcasted on King's Realm with King. Talk about that, King, if you want to.
Yeah, I'll be talking about the Green Bay Packers, of course, Tampa Bay, and the Saints, all NFC teams and the Rams. We'll be talking about that with other writers and podcasters from those respective teams. And make sure y'all tune in to the Tuesday show where we'll be talking about Micah Parsons.
All right. And Don's favor, I will be talking about Terry Fono, maybe possibly being the next GM. I don't know what day I'm going to do that, but that'll be soon. And you'll catch the AFC coverage of the playoffs predictions on the Don's favor. So exclusively on Don's favor, AFC, King's Rim, NFC. Thank you guys for coming on again. Once again, let everybody know y'all at Eric, starting with you.
You can find me on Twitter at _Eric_Robinson. Check out the Falcoholic site whenever you get a chance. Got a piece that came out yesterday about Joe Brady and what he can be or what he can do as a possible head coach and why he's on the Falcons' radar for their head coaching search.
All right, Matt.
Yep, you can find me on Twitter at Matt Karoly, MattKaroly. Like I said earlier, free agent right now, kind of just enjoying not writing or anything or just hopping on podcasts like this. So, guys, appreciate you having me on. This was fun. Hope to do this again soon.
All right, thank you. And Devontae?
Yeah, y'all can find me on all social media platforms. It's at Clicker by Nature. Just follow me. I definitely follow back. Do have to say this to Matt. We got a spot open at Georgia Sports Hospitality Media. So whenever you want to come back, jump into the game, you can jump in with us.
All right, man. Appreciate that, Devontae.
All right. And that concludes our show right there, you guys. We're gonna watch the rest of this game. It look like the Steelers looking for a comeback right now. So hopefully the Browns can hold on. But I like the underdogs, so that's me. But if you're new to the channel, y'all already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this content out with Atlanta Sports Fanatics, and hit us up in the comment section. As always, come holler at your hometown sports podcast.
And always remember to love yourself. Peace.
All right, Ro, man, you know we always come on, man. This show always lit, man. Come on now. Don't do us like that. We'll do it again though. We'll bring on Eric Robinson again. We'll bring on Matt. Matt, this is the second time coming on the show, so doesn't believe like we don't stray away from current content creators and writers for the Falcons. So we welcome anybody on the show. Anybody, just hit us up.
Word.
All right. With that being said, y'all have a great evening. We'll see y'all sometime this week, early as tomorrow. Peace.